Hey guys, welcome to the very first video of our channel Nukkar Chronicles. As all three of us have lived and worked in the United States for the past 10 years and have got our green card through EB1, so we thought why don't we answer some of the most asked questions about this category and how to apply, how to get green card through EB1. Now before we proceed, a quick disclaimer, whatever we say here is not a legal advice. Please do consult an immigration attorney before you take any action. Now let's get started.
So today we're going to go through the most asked questions regarding EB1B green card process. So let's get into it. But to begin with, I'm going to ask the most basic question. What is a green card?
So green card is an immigrant visa that lets you work and live in the United States with very few restrictions. It's actually kind of a visa on steroids which lets you travel and work in United States without any restrictions.
So the next question is, how many employment-based green card categories can one apply to?
So one can apply to three main employment-based categories. It's EB1, EB2 and EB3. So there are also EB4 and EB5, where EB4 is for social and religious scholars, and for EB5 it's a startup investment visa. So for most of us, we will fall in the category EB1, 2 and 3.
As we are focusing on the EB1 category, what is the main difference between EB1A and EB1B?
So the main difference between EB1A and EB1B is EB1A is a self-petition, which a petitioner self applies for a green card, and EB1B is a petition which employers files for you.
Okay, so I think next question is one of the most asked one. Who is eligible for a EB1 visa, and is PhD a requirement?
So this is a big misconception that one requires a PhD to file an EB1 visa. It's not the case. USCIS has a list of 6 criteria that are needed to be met. So in general, you need at least 3 to be met out of 6 to qualify for an EB1 visa. And in terms of degrees, you only require an advanced degree. And if you have a master's and you qualify for those 3 requirements, you are eligible for EB1.
Since each profile is going to be different, can you guys go through each of your profiles so people can get a better understanding of your profile?
So I will go first. I did my bachelor's and master's in bioinformatics both in India before I decided to come to United States to do my PhD. And I finished, as soon as I finished my PhD, I transitioned from an F1 visa to OPT. OPT is basically a narrow window of time where the USCIS allows a student to work while they are working on their either immigrant or other non-immigrant work visas. So as I transitioned from F1 to OPT, traditionally what happens is usually people will file their H1Bs if they are working in industry, which is what I was doing. So instead of doing a postdoc, I directly went into industry as a scientist. And so as a part of that effort, I went from F1 to OPT, and from OPT I directly went to EB1B. And my petition was approved roughly at the end of 2020. So if you are someone who is in the similar trajectory in their career, please leave a comment down below. We'll be happy to talk to you and learn from your experience. And I'm sure a lot of listeners are in the same boat as well. But you will realize as Kashish and Praneeth talk about their experience, which is on a very, very different side of the spectrum of EB1 career trajectories.
I came to US for my master's in 2012, and after my master's I went on a OPT, and after OPT I went on a H1B visa, which is a work visa. And after my work visa, we wanted, because you can only work for 6 years on H1B visa, so we wanted to go for a green card. And there are like several categories of green card as Pradeep described previously. So we went and met our attorney, and he suggested on basis on our profile that you go for a EB2 and IW visa green card. So we went for that, and after that, as continued, we made our profile stronger, and after that we went for EB1. I went for a EB1A green card, and recently last year my I-140 got approved, and after that my I-485 is in the process of getting approved.
So here's my overview. So I did my bachelor's in bioinformatics from India in 2012, and then I came to US in 2013 for my master's in bioinformatics. With my F1 OPT, I started a full-time job in 2015, and after 3 years on my OPT, I got my H1B, which was I think I used almost 5 years of my H1B, and then I decided that I should get onto an immigration path or green card path. And then I met an attorney, and they suggested that I should go with EB2 NIW based on the profile or academic profile I had at that time. And then after going through the EB2 NIW process, which was approved in April 2020, I later in 2021 decided to go with EB1B, which my employer filed. And while filing for EB1B, I had the following profile or academic profile. I had 24 publications, around 600 citations, 4 expert letters, and 5 peer reviews. And with that, I went for my EB1B, which was approved. The I-140 petition was approved in 2021, and my 485 adjustment of status was approved recently, just a few days back.
So what are the steps involved in obtaining a EB1 green card?
So to obtain a EB1 green card, there are 2 main steps. First one is I-140. So in this one, you send your application to USCIS. They look at your publications, your records, your research, your whole academic profile, and then on the basis of that, they say if you get qualified or not. If you get qualified, then the next step is I-485, which is the adjustment of status, and at the end of that, you get a green card.
What are the qualifying criteria for EB1 and how much is the cost?
So there are 6 criteria listed by USCIS, which we would put the link to in the description box. And out of these 6 criteria, there are 4 major criteria which most of us fall in. The first is publications, how many research articles you have published. The second is citations, that is how many times your work has been used by others in the field. And the third is peer review, where you judge the work of others in your field. And the last one is expert letters or recommendation letters, where you basically ask for recommendation letters from people who don't know you personally but have used your work for their research or for their technology advancement. So in general, most of us will fall in these 4 criteria, and this is what we 3 used for our EB1 file. So it takes around $12,000 in average to file a EB1 green card, which includes both the stages I-140 and I-485. Now it depends on the law firms, so I would advise you to go and get a quote from them. However, it includes the USCIS filing fees, so in general for me it costed around $12,000 for getting an EB1 green card.
Since each of you applied your green card in a different year or on a different timeline, can you also outline the timeline?
So out of the 3 of us, my timeline is the oldest. I got my green card in later half of 2020, but my process actually started in October of 2018 when I filed my I-140. It was approved in about a week because I went through premium processing. As soon as my I-140 was approved, I started working on my I-485 application, which took about a few more months, and in the December of 2018 I applied for I-485 as well. And in about 3 months time I got my interview, but during my interview it was realized that USCIS EB1 B category was retrogressed by 2 years. So I waited for about 2 years, and in later half of 2020 I got approval for I-485 as well. So that was my timeline overall, and maybe if some of you share this experience, please comment down below. But we would definitely like to do a video on the retrogression process and how retrogression and the lack thereof in other categories affect EB1, EB2 and other categories as well.
So now coming to my timeline, I started gathering evidence and all the supporting documentation in April 2021. My law firm filed the case in November 2021, and we again filed with premium processing, which cost around $2,500. So my decision came on the 13th day out of the 15 calendar days that USCIS guarantees. And then after getting my I-140 approved, I filed my 485 in February 2022. And I can say that I was very lucky that I got my I-485 approved in just 65 days, which is very fast. and I wish all of you who are in the process get that really soon. Do let us know in the comment section, guys, if you want to know what was the documentation that we used for both these stages. We'll be very happy to talk about that.
Okay, so now I'll talk about my timeline. I also, same as Praneeth, I started gathering my evidences for EB1A in last year, April 2021. And my attorneys applied my I-140 in October 2021. And in around 15 days, with the premium processing, my I-140 got approved. And after that, it took me 2-3 months to gather some evidence for I-485. And later, in end of February, they applied for my I-485 adjustment of status. So till now, I'm waiting for my decision on adjustment of status, and hopefully I'll get it, and let's see.
How to build a profile for EB1 if you're in the industry, and how does one know if their research profile is strong enough for EB1?
So I get that question a lot because I am one of those people who transitioned to industry right from academia after my studies were over. And a lot of people are either concerned or confused about how this process works, but it's pretty straightforward. Once you have built up your set of publications in the academia, that is going to be very useful, first of all, as a part of your profile. But when you move to industry, depending on where you work, you will continue to build those evidence and support towards your profile as well. Depending on where you work, of course, because in some places you are not able to publish as much. But assuming that you are publishing at the same rate as you did in academia or even less than that, you'll still be able to gather a lot of publications, posters, and be able to work with a lot of experts in your field who will vouch for you, and you will keep gathering the same kind of evidence that you would gather in academia. So that's how you build a profile in industry. The other thing that's important to remember is that in the research aspects of the industry, things are still very academia-like. The only difference is there is a business aspect to everything that's going on with your work. But most of these findings need to be published, peer-reviewed, and therefore you will still be able to gather a lot of evidence that you will need to convince USCIS that you are either an individual with extraordinary ability or you are an outstanding professor or a researcher. So other part of the question is, when do you know if your profile is ready for prime time? This is a complicated and a loaded question. This depends on a lot of factors. I know about stories that Praneeth has told me about people getting green cards at 50 citations, whereas you will see people who have 10,000 citations getting rejected. And the whole story of EB1B or EB2 in that aspect as well is full of such kind of anecdotes. So when do you know that your profile is ready or not? Although I would suggest that I can only share my experience, and I hope that some of you can share your experience as well in the comments. What happened in my case was that I thought that you need at least 100 citations, and that's something of a yardstick that I made up in my mind. It has no real relevance to what a USCIS adjudicator would think.
Yeah.
Ideally, what needs to happen is that all aspects of your evidence should highlight the fact that you are either an individual with extraordinary ability or an amazing researcher that United States cannot do without. And so in order for that to work, focus on all the aspects of your profile, review papers, talk with experts, work with them, get their recommendations, and only just focusing on citations might not get you anywhere, or just focusing on recommendations that might not be enough. Try to build the profile as a whole instead of focusing on just one thing. And if you are worried that you may not have a profile that will get you a successful result, I would also recommend, from a personal experience of my friends and family members who have been through this process, is to talk to an immigration attorney. They usually evaluate your profile. But at the same time, don't get discouraged if they tell you that you are not ready. You can either take more advice from other attorneys, or you can take this as a means of building up and shoring up evidence that USCIS will eventually adjudicate positively. these were just a few questions that people keep asking us. Previously to me a few years ago, but most recently to Praneeth because he's the newest entrant to the Green Card Club. I know coming to US and setting up a life here either as a student or as an employee is not easy. And so if we had such videos for us back in the day, it would have made our lives very easy. But we realized that we get a lot of these questions, and we thought we'll just make a few videos and let people help people out with not just the green card process, but also with other aspects of the life in United States. So please like, share, comment and subscribe. Share your love with us. We'd like to make more videos. Please comment and let us know what you would like us to talk about. And so you can also find some of our social media handles down in the description below, and the Nukkad Chronicles will start from this day onwards. Thank you.
Thank you.